We want to find out what the agro input dealer has in stock versus what the consumers are expecting.
Actually call it what the engine. The engine of the farm. You get a fake, you deal with a fake agro dealer, you get fake results in the field.
When it comes to seeds, we are more interested in the packing date.
Why so? Why?
Because the longer the seed stays on the shelves, the higher the chances that the viability, the germinability begins.
What is viability? What do you mean by viability?
Viability, the assurance that when I plant the seed, it is going to germinate. That's
so you're trying to say if I plant my seeds and they were packaged 2 years ago, chances are that some of them will not germinate.
Well, 2 years should not be the bottom line there, but when it gets to 3-5 years, then there's a problem. And actually, I need to mention this, that for the seed companies, some of them will not even give you the expiry date, because a seed can expire. You can't tell me that, okay, the seed has expired, but the packing date really matters. When the seed was packed, the longer it is since the packing, the lower the chances of germinability of the seeds.
Okay, that's very important. So now I've gotten my seed, because I'm going to keep on visiting this agro input shop, getting different other agro inputs. What do I look at when I'm getting an insecticide? Or because I'm going to use insecticide all along my chain, after 1 week, as dropped after 3 weeks. So what do I look at? Do I use the same insecticide? Do I have to use different one? What am I looking for? What should I look at?
Well, 2 things. Number 1, the stage of our watermelon. At what stage are we at? If our melon has just come out, germinated, we need insecticide that can actually extend into the soil. Okay, some of them are just surface and they'll cover the insects that attack the leaves, but we need something that can go down into the soil, because they are cutting insects down there. Then number 2, okay, so that's for the stage.
On that, how do I know this one cuts into the soil and this one is just a surface?
Well, there are those ones that are the systemic ones. Imidacloprid actually, it is systemic, but it can also go deep down into the soil.
What do you mean by systemic? This is hard.
Okay. Systemic is when the chemical that has been taken up by the plant, that has been applied by the farmer, is actually taken up by the plant into the systems of the plant, and then the insect comes to bite on the plant, and then it eventually dies.
So it's absorbed by the plant.
Exactly.
System into the system.
Exactly.
Systemic.
Exactly.
I get you. What's the opposite of that?
Those are contact. They are contact.
So for contact, it just remains on the surface.
Yeah, waiting. The minute it gets into contact with the pest dies.
So what you're saying is, when I'm looking for a pesticide, I should look at it exactly to know whether this is contact or whether this one enters the plant. Is that?
Yes, depending on the stage of the fruit, or the stage of our watermelon, but also depending largely on the pest that we are targeting. Okay, what pest are we targeting? Certain pests can only be targeted through systemic chemicals, like mites. Mites are a big threat to watermelon. They cause the leaves to they even actually bring about the spread diseases. Okay, so the only way you can deal with them is by using systemic, but if we are dealing with the millipedes, those things you can handle using contact. Millipedes, caterpillar, those things, contact pesticides really do a good job.
Yeah, another point to consider is alternating the insecticides that you're using in your farming.
Yes.
I don't know if you can add something with that.
Yeah, it is very, very important that you alternate these pesticides, because see, most of the pests that attack our crops in the garden, their life cycle is actually maximum 2 weeks, the longest being a month. Okay, and every time you apply, the plant the pest has a mechanism of registering the chemical that you have done you have applied, so that the next time you apply it, it is not caught unaware. Okay, so if you use the same pesticide for a very long period of time, what happens is that you apply the chemical and the pest just smiles at you. What we call developing what? Resistance. Okay, developing resistance. So the best thing, most important thing, is to always alternate. You know, today if you use imidacloprid, tomorrow consider to use abamectin. If you use abamectin, consider to use acetamiprid. If you use acetamiprid, you can switch to lambda-cyhalothrin. You can always, you know, alternate. But in this alternation, I want to bring out this. Make sure that your choice of chemicals is safe for the final consumer. Watermelon is a short-term crop, and these chemicals that you are applying may take some very long time before we get the residue out. Okay, and actually alternating chemicals helps, especially on the issue of residual effect, because it keeps the residue of the chemicals very low. I don't know if I am understood very well there.
So you're really making it a bit
scientific. Forgive me.
What is residue? What is residue? Like, what do you mean by residue?
Okay. A little bit. I wouldn't want to go into that side, but the residue here we're talking about is that quantity, that level of the chemical that remains in the fruit, that when I go to the shop, when I go to the market to buy the fruit, that amount of chemical that is left, okay, it should be so low that it shouldn't be a threat to my life. And the only way you can make sure that there is very low levels of residue there is to alternate. You stick to one chemical for a very long period of time, the residual effect is going to accumulate. It's just going to build up. So alternate the chemicals.
Yes. Something more important to add on that.
Yes.
A chemical is not. A chemical has two names. It's what we call a trade name and a scientific name.
Yes. Yes.
What our expert is talking about here is the scientific name.
Yeah, I stuck to scientific.
You may find that it's one chemical but has 10 different trade names.
Yes.
So when you're buying, focus on the scientific name.
Yes.
If you don't have a scientific names, the attendant should be able to help you, to tell you this is A, this is B, but for both of them they have one scientific name.
But it's not rocket science. Those things are already
definitely. So if you have a little bit of reading, you can look at it and read through. You'll find somewhere active ingredient. This is the active ingredient. So that's what you consider when you're buying your insecticides. Going to another product chemical that we need in the watermelon, they are fungicides.
Yes.
Because watermelon is one of the crops heavily hit by different fungal infections at all levels. And fungicides have two major problems in that people just spray fungicides blindly, and others use a single fungicide over and over and over again. How should someone avoid this?
Well, okay, to start with, it still cuts across, like we have talked about the pests, alternate the fungicides. It's very, very important. But that aside, I am really sorry, I'm not going to be able to point to you that this is the fungicide to use for reasons. One, we're going to need to use different fungicides at different stages, but I also don't want to limit ourselves to a particular product. But for fungicides, our interest, the active ingredients there should, at least in everything that you're buying, the mancozeb should not miss. Okay. Now, to your question, when do we need the fungicides most?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
At the very early stage, the plant is actually, the immune system of the plant is rather strong. Okay. Not so beaten by diseases so easily. But a mancozeb there would help to put a little bit of film on the leaves, just so to avoid spores, to avoid diseases. Let me just go straight. To avoid diseases spreading easily. Okay. So mancozeb is going to help. It's not systemic, it's contact. Okay. But there are other fungicides that are necessary, and we bring in, once in a while. And when do we bring them in? We bring them in to check disease, to treat disease, and these fungicides are always, they're systemic. The plant is going to take them up and treat the disease and kick it out of the out of the garden. Watermelon does not have very many diseases, but the problem with it is that the few diseases that are in there,
they are very serious.
They are very serious. So you can avoid them by choosing the right seed. And after choosing the right seed, consider to apply the mancozeb and some systemic fungicides with metalaxyl. If it's not metalaxyl, you know, tebuconazole, it works very well. Azoxystrobin also works very well. The list is endless, but we are not here to mention the science, but to bring your attention to the fact that use different fungicides, alternate them.
Yeah.
Okay?
To add on that,
Yes.
just a tip as a farmer, it is better to make a relationship with this your agro dealer.
Yes.
Because at some point you reach a point and you don't have the money, or the money is low,
Yes.
but your farm is demanding you to use some specific agro input. This is where now you have to come to this agro dealer
Yes.
and find out working it out. Maybe you pay him later or something like that. So much as the scientific part of it is important, also the relationship between you and the person who's supplying you is also very, very, very vital. Not forgetting that you take this product, it usually has its limits and specific measurements to use for spraying. Don't go too high because you increase the residues of sales. Don't go too low because your problem won't be solved. It is better you take something on credit than just having things which are not going perfect.
Yeah, just something I would like just to bring to your attention, a little bit off topic but still on topic. To our dear farmers, we have a responsibility to protect the generation of tomorrow. Okay, and it all starts from here. This is the world of chemicals. You buy from here, you go take to the garden, and you take to the markets. Then the markets, people are consuming so many things, some of which are fit, some of which are not fit. Avoid using chemicals where they are not supposed to be used. Avoid overdosing.
Too much of
Avoid underdosing. Avoid applying chemicals on fruits that are about to be harvested. A little science in there. Once you apply a chemical on the fruit and you harvest it, that chemical is going to remain. It will never leave until the person consumes it. But if you leave it in the garden and still attached to the plant, the plant has a mechanism of breaking down that chemical. So let's do the right things at the right time. You are harvesting, do not apply any chemicals. Yes.